All right, so what I'm gonna do for you guys is give you a good breakdown of how I do the needs analysis. I'm gonna rock and roll through this. And then what I really wanna do is show you how I introduce final expense protection and how I sell final expense protection to every human being that I come across, regardless of how much coverage they already have, who they have it with, where it's coming from, or any of the above. So here's how I do my analysis. Need 2 volunteers to role play with me.
I'll just do it since I'm.
John Pollock will role play with me, and let's get a female with you too. That way you have a husband and a wife, and I could do this really authentic. Deanna, are you there?
I am now.
Hey, you want to role play with us? So you'll be John's wife?
Sure will.
Your name is Samantha, apparently. All righty. So I introduce. Now it's Deanna. I introduce this the exact same way as Corey does on the video that he just showed. So right before this video, before the needs analysis pops up, all right, John and Deanna, at this point, your last no cost benefit is your no cost needs analysis. This is where we're going to put in all information that you may already have. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a free consultation, and we're going to include all of the coverage that you already have through the union, because we know you already have good benefits through your union, but we're also going to show you what you may also qualify for additionally. So really quickly, I'm going to put in all your information. Jonathan, is that your birthday? Does that look correct? Deanna, is that your birthday? Does that look correct? You guys were born one day ahead of one another. That's pretty freaking cool. Good for you guys. Okay. John, I can't do it. Yeah, just move down for me, buddy. All righty. So really quickly, before we dive into the meat and potatoes of what I got to ask you, the first question I have for both of you: has anyone had any internal cancer in the past 2 years?
Nope.
Nope.
Is anyone on insulin for diabetes?
Nope.
Anyone have any cardiovascular disease, heart attack, strokes, or any of that kind of fun stuff?
Nope.
Okay. Is anyone currently using oxygen besides for, you know, the trees and the leaves outside?
No.
Okay, fantastic. Does anyone have any terminal illnesses?
Nope.
Okay. How about Alzheimer's? You guys already passed the first test. You guys remembered that we had this appointment. So I'm assuming no Alzheimer's with you guys?
Well,
No.
not me. Maybe
All right. I like that. You guys poke fun of one another. That's cool. How about anyone use tobacco? Any form of, whether it's cigarettes or chew?
no, sir.
Okay. Good answers. You know what I like to call you guys? You guys are a boring couple, but in the insurance world, it's good to be boring. So good job. You passed test number 1. How about, is anyone currently on probation or parole, or have ever been arrested or convicted of a DUI?
No.
Good answers. I'm not judging you either way, but good answers, guys. Again, you continue to be the boring couple, but it's a good thing to be boring in the insurance. All righty. Now, the next question I'm going to ask you is about both of you guys' take-home pay. Now, the reason why I'm asking that question, it has nothing to do about me being nosy. It has nothing to do about me actually caring. It actually has to do with, because the program that we use is guaranteed to keep everything within 5% of whatever your take-home pay is. So for example, if we were to put $5 to the side and make sure your family was protected, would you agree with me or disagree that that's a good investment or a bad investment? You tell me.
I would agree.
Probably a good investment too. But at the same time, would you also agree that $5 out of every 100 that come into the house, it's not going to take food off your table. It's not going to take the milk off the kitchen door. It's not going to take the cheese out your macaroni. Is it going to do any of that? $5 out of every 100?
I don't believe so, Mac.
No.
Probably not, right? And that's the reason why I'm asking about your guys' take-home pay, so we can measure the insurance correctly, and we're going to keep everything within that 5%. So Jonathan, what would you say right now your take-home pay is after taxes?
Say about 3,500.
Okay. And Deanna, what would you say your take-home pay is right now after taxes?
4,000.
Beautiful. Now, through your guys' job, how much insurance do you guys currently already have? Do you guys have anything through your jobs right now?
Not a damn thing, Mike.
How about you, Deanna?
I do for both of us.
Okay, do you know what you have?
It's, I think it's $100,000 each.
Okay, and do you know whether or not this is something you pay into? They take something out of your paycheck for it, is it, or was it just something given to you to?
It was just given.
Okay, not a problem. Now, really quickly, is this the first time you've had a job where you've had insurance through the job?
Yes.
It is the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let me ask you a quick question. Is this one of those positions that you feel like you're going to work there for the rest of your life, or do you plan on retiring someday?
I hope to retire.
Good answer. We all hope to retire, right? Now, let me ask you another quick question. After you retire, what do you think will happen to the insurance that you have through that job? Have you ever thought about that?
Well, I thought that if it was just given to me, it would be mine.
Well, yeah, there's no doubt about it that while you are currently working, it's definitely a positive thing to have. But let's make you the employer really quickly. Who do you work for right now, Deanna?
I work for Pfizer.
Oh, you work for Pfizer. Very, very cool. Pfizer's a pretty big company, right? Let's pretend you are Mr. Pfizer, right?
Mhm.
And you had someone come work for you for a couple years. And then 10 years later, you get a call from someone's significant other telling you that so-and-so just passed away. Are you going to want to pay out $100,000 to that person that works for you for 2 years?
Probably not, because there's a lot of employees.
Well, yeah, of course. And the truth is, Mr. Pfizer is not an insurance company, right?
Right.
And that's actually the main reason why we're having this conversation today, because all the unions that we work with know and understand what they have through their union is good, but it's not something permanent. It's not something they could depend on. And that's the reason why we're having this conversation today. And we'll take care of that today. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. How about any life insurance outside of your job? Has any licensed professional ever sat down and talked to you about your benefits?
No.
Nope.
No, first time? Okay, not a problem. Definitely something we could take care of. That house that you guys are in, I see that you guys are in different rooms, so you guys may be arguing right now, but you guys rent or do you guys own?
We own.
Okay, it's a trick question. Do you guys know how much
Waiting for him to answer.
do you guys know how much is left on the mortgage?
Yeah, we have about 450,000 left.
Beautiful. And do you know how many years are remaining on that?
We have about 16 years left.
Okay, fantastic. All right, boom, 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 boom. When it comes to interest rate, by the way, I always just leave it at 0. You could put in the
It
interest rate.
doesn't affect anything.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I just do 0 too.
And do you have any insurance to pay off your mortgage in case of death? I'm going to assume not if you've never talked to anyone before.
You would be right, Michael.
Correct. And I saw you had a child named Colin. Do you have any money set to the side for Colin's education?
No.
No,
That's
he's
normal.
not going to
Why wouldn't
college.
we?
That's normal. Oh man, you guys are down on the Colin. Jeez. But either way, I'm sure obviously that's definitely something we could take care of today as well. And just to confirm, you have a checking or savings account?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. All righty. So before I move forward, don't click anything yet, John. I'm trying to unshare your screen really quickly. Okay, so really quickly, couple different things that I just did. Okay, I want to make sure you guys understand what I did while I was doing it. I'm not doing that just for show. So first and foremost, I really took my time with the 5% question. Why? Because more than likely, if there's going to be a complaint, it's going to be that it's too expensive for them. So I'm making an agreement, just like I was sharing about Corey's last message. I'm getting an agreement with them that $5 out of every 100 put to the side is a good investment. Jonathan agreed. I said, you could agree or disagree. He said, I agree. He's agreeing with me, $5 out of every 100. It's not going to change his lifestyle, right?
Yep.
He gave me the information. We then talked about the work coverage. Why? Because at the end, I don't want them to say to me, I got work coverage. I don't know why you're even sharing this with me. So now I'm right then and there showing Deanna, hey, the coverage that you already have is good to have. I complimented it, right? It's good to have it. But I needed to give her a perspective that it's not something you could depend on. So I literally, all I had to do was make her the employer. And if she's the employer and she believes she's only been there for a little bit, but plans on being there forever, but in her brain, that's permanent. Well, I have it, so I feel like I have it forever. And all I had to do is say, hey, Deanna, let's make you Mr. Pfizer. Do you want to pay out $100,000 to every single employee that ever walked through your door? And immediately her tone changed. Immediately she put herself in there. No, I'm not just giving out $100,000 to every and anyone. So when someone says to you, I have 1.5 times my salary, I have 2.5 times, you hear that stuff all the time. You got to crush that right then and there to make sure they understand, yeah, it's good to have right now. But what's your plan after you retire? What's your plan after you leave this job? What's going to happen? Now, I really quickly on that topic, if Deanna said to me, she's had, because if you remember, the first question I said is this the first job that you have had where you've had life insurance? She said yes. If she said no, it's very simple. Deanna, role play with me. Is this the first job that you've ever had with insurance before?
No,
Okay. With your previous job, you said you had insurance, correct?
I did.
And
Mhm.
when you ended up leaving that job, what happened to that insurance through your job?
I lost it.
So what do you think may happen to the insurance that you have currently through the job right now when you end up leaving?
I guess the same thing.
And that's the actual main reason why we're having this conversation right now, because your union president understands that eventually when you leave the union, the benefits that you have will not be there anymore. Do you plan on dying anytime soon, or you plan on living a nice, long, healthy life?
Oh, absolutely. I plan on living a nice, long, healthy life.
Good answer. That's the right answer. And that's the reason why we're going over your benefits today, because your union president wants to make sure your family is taken care of even after you leave the union. It still brings me to the right same place. My job when she talks about the job insurance is to get it through her that she's not going to be able to depend on it. But understand the questions that I'm asking, I already know the answers to. I'm not asking any opinion-based questions. I'm asking facts. When you left that previous job, what happened to that insurance? I didn't have it. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen afterward? I could easily say to Deanna, hey, that previous job that you had, you obviously lost that insurance. And when you lose that insurance, it's not there anymore, which means when you leave this job, it's not going to be there anymore. But if she's not saying it to me, she's not believing it. So instead of just saying straight up, Deanna, the insurance you have for your job, honestly, it's pretty much worthless. She's going to get defensive. She's going to be like, who is this guy? Why is this guy saying this to me? But if you give them real examples, it's going to click to them. A lot of this made sense to me when I sat down with someone who worked for AT&T. AT&T is a worldwide provider for cell phones. And this lady said to me, oh, I've been there for 2 weeks. I love it. I said, that's so great. Most people hate their jobs. You love your job. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But really quickly, okay? What type of insurance do you have? Oh, I got 2.5 times my salary, meaning anytime I die, that's going to get paid out. I said, have you ever thought about what happens to that insurance when you leave? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, if you end up leaving AT&T, what's going to happen to the coverage you have? She said, well, I'm under the assumption I'm still going to have it. And literally, I didn't have a rebuttal in my repertoire at that time. So I literally just reversed it on her. I said, I want you to be Mr. AT&T for a second. And you had Mrs. Smith work for you in 2012 for 3 months. But when she signed that contract, she'll get 3.5 times her salary at the time of her death. And then you get a phone call 10 years later that Mrs. Smith, who worked for you for 3 months, is asking for 3.5 times her salary from back in 2012. Are you going to want to pay that out? Hell no. Very simple question would be, how is AT&T still in business if they're paying out 3.5 times people's salaries of every person that ever worked for them? Think about that. It doesn't make any sense. But you got to get them saying these things. You can't just say it to them. So after you basically kill off the work insurance, we went into the coverage they already have. Now, granted, they made it easy for me. They both said they've never sat down with anyone before. And that's where I basically took advantage and said, okay, that's when we're going to take care of this today. That's something we're going to be able to take care of today. How many times you guys hear me say today? I said it a bunch of times. That's another thing that I could get as an agreement. I'm saying today, today, today. At the end of the presentation, you're not going to be like, we're not doing this today. How many times did I say today? Does that make sense? Now, if they told me they already had coverage, right? Oh, I already have $100,000 whole life policy, whatever it may be. They could say whatever it is that they already have. What is my goal when they say that? What do you guys think? What should, Jonathan, don't answer the question. I want these guys to answer it. When they tell me they have insurance already, they already pay for their own. Say it again.
Waste it, use it,
Spend
spend
it.
it.
Spend it, but I think the key is going to be making them spend it. So let's role play this out, John and Deanna. Let's say at this point you guys have coverage. Okay, yeah, we can go back to it, right? Right where it says, do you have life insurance outside of work? So guys, have you guys ever sat down with a life insurance agent and actually go over your benefits?
Yeah, we did about
Yes.
5 years ago.
About 5 years ago. Beautiful. Do you guys know what type of coverage you have and how much you have?
Yeah, they said there was whole life. We have about 50,000 each. They said it builds cash value.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. You said you took it out 5 years ago. Do you know how much you pay each month for that?
I pay about, we both pay about $100.
Beautiful. So all I'm doing there, guys, by the way, is fact checking it. That's all I'm doing. The reason why I asked how much coverage, how long ago was it taken out, how much do you pay? I'm just pretty much what Corey was talking about before when he was talking about 100 grand for $13 a month. We know that that's a term policy. We know that's a term policy. You can't be 13 years old and get that price. So all I'm doing is fact check how long did you take it out? How much do you pay? He said they both pay about $100 a month for the, okay, it makes about sense. So now I'm going to spend it. So John and Deanna, when you took out those policies, what were the intentions with the 50 grand each? Where was that money going? God forbid something happened to you.
Our funeral services, and maybe leave some to Colin.
Okay, that's a good answer. What about you, Mr. Pollock?
I want to make sure the wife and kids are taken care of, sir.
Good answer. So all I'm doing, if you guys are me, I'm taking note. So as far as I'm concerned right now, Deanna has her final expense protection taken care of, plus a little bit towards Colin. John just wants to give it to Deanna. So in my brain, I'm now developing my game plan on where am I going to be able to attack them. You guys tell me, where am I attacking them?
Education, mortgage,
Both of those are good answers. What else?
Also income replacement.
What else?
new car a few years down the line,
You're missing
vacation.
a major one here, guys. You're missing the easiest one of all. Jonathan gave us a layup. I think he did it on purpose. Jonathan did not talk about that 50 grand going towards his final expenses. Only Deanna did.
Cover the bills.
Only Deanna,
Whole life. More whole
only
life.
Deanna has her final expense protection taken care of. Jonathan spent his 50 grand by giving it all to his wife. If he wants his wife to have 50 grand, then he needs a policy for final expense protection. His expectation is that his wife is going to get 50 grand. If he said to me, same thing that Deanna said, well, I want to make sure I get into the ground and I want the rest to go to Colin. If John would have said that to me, then I can't go after him with final expense protection. But Jonathan said he wants all 50 to go to his wife,
Yeah,
which
back
means,
into a corner now.
which means if he wants 50 for his wife, he needs 30 for his funeral. Does that make sense here, guys? You got to be able to dissect that and hear that and see it. That's the whole reason why I asked these questions. Now, Jonathan, because the main thing that I want to do here is talk about funerals and final expenses, please get rid of the 50 grand of whole life for both of you, because if that's still in there, it's not going to come up. Just make it 0. Okay.
Just mental note.
Just leave it at 0, click submit. So now at this point in time, being a professional, I know that the very first video that they are going to see is what?
Final expense.
Okay. Now that I know that, and I know a computer is going to take some time to think, you could click it, Jonathan. I'm going to keep talking. Here is what I do. Okay. So obviously, first thing is the mandatory read-off letter. Okay. Here's how I do this. I do this as basic as possibly can, but I get the agreement. Okay. So before we dive into this, Jonathan and Deanna, I want to make sure you guys understand. Right here, this is what's called our mandatory read-off letter. And when you originally filled out that union card to have us come out, this was actually attached to it as well. Most members don't read it, which is why we want to go over it with you again one more time. I could either read this out loud, give you a quick summary, or you could read this privately. Which one makes sense for you?
How about you read it?
By the way, they will say that every time. Basically, what this is showing you is that after we go over all of these additional benefits that you may or may not qualify for, we're asking for a very simple yes or no. In other words, we sit down with a lot of families who are in different places in their lives. The family I sat with a couple minutes ago and your family are in two different places in your life. So we sit down with everybody individually so that we could take care of everybody's individual wants and needs. In other words, John and Deanna, when this is all said and done, if everything makes sense and you found the education to be profitable, all I'm asking for you is a very simple yes or no. Does that make sense?
Makes sense?
Great. Stop sharing your screen. Okay. What did I do?
You avoided, I want to think about it.
I'm checking boxes off. So in that needs analysis, I've already checked off that I got an agreement from them that 5% is going to make sense for them, which means as soon as they say it's too expensive, I go right back to that agreement, right? I also got them to agree with me that the work coverage is not something they could depend on, which means if I get to the end and they say I have work coverage, I don't need this, I go right back to that agreement. If they tell me they don't need final expense protection because Jonathan's now wants to spend the money on her future, I could go back to what Jonathan said. Jonathan said he wants that 50 grand to go to her. Now I'm getting the agreement that I need that very simple yes or no. Why? Because I'm busy as shit and I can't see everybody more than once. So we want that simple yes or no. Does that make sense? And they both gave me the yes, which means if they say they want to think about it, I go right back to that agreement. All three rebuttals that you would get, it's too expensive, I need to think about it, or I already have coverage. I've already eliminated all four of them. I got agreements from all four of them. Does this make sense? This is all psychology here. Does anyone have any questions on any of that before I dive into the final expense protection stuff?
Yeah, this is jumping.
Talk.
This is ahead, but you show me an example of how you would say, like, if they brought up the rebuttal afterwards and then you want to kick it back to the letter and say, well, you already agreed. How do you word that?
But which one? Do you mean like if they say I want to think about it when it's all said and done?
Yeah, many of them.
So John and Deanna, okay, role play with me. Okay, so did everything make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you have any further questions? Okay, so which option you want to go with today? Would you rather go with our gold package, our top package that we have for you, or would you rather go with that silver package to get started? Which one makes more sense for you?
I think my wife deserves a gold package, so I'm gonna do the gold package.
Okay, Jonathan, you're not paying attention. We literally just
I think we should think about it.
good answer, Deanna.
No, I was gonna say I want the gold package, and you're saying continue. Then I'm like, I want to do it today.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know where you're going. So anyway, Deanna said, I want to think about it. So Deanna, I understand how you feel. Believe it or not, it's definitely not the first time someone has said that to me either. I'm going to say it with that big ass smile on my face too, by the way. It ain't the first time someone said that to me, believe it or not. I've gotten that a lot. But let me just explain to you something really quickly. Do you remember when you originally filled out that card from the union? Do you remember that?
Jonathan does. Yeah.
Jonathan, do you remember? It was your handwriting. Do you remember when you filled that out?
Oh, yes, yes. I'm sorry. It was me.
All right, and do you remember that the piece of paper that came along with the 355 card, also known as what we went over before we dove into this before? Remember that mandatory read-off letter we talked about?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And do you remember when I explained to you that we sit down with everybody individually because everybody has their own individual wants and needs, and we sit down with everybody individually to make sure we're taking care of that family and that family only at that time. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You remember what we talked about, how I needed that very simple yes or no?
Yes,
You remember that, right?
yes.
So let's go back to what we were just talking about. Right now, I'm asking you, which option makes the most sense for you? The gold package or the silver package? Which one's going to make more sense?
Well, the gold package makes the most sense.
Okay, so all I need from you right now is to go get your checkbook, any prescription meds you may be on, as well as a voided check, and we'll take care of this right now just to make sure you qualify.
What if at that point the person tells you, well, yeah, this package makes the most sense to me, but I don't know my financial situation right now. I need to sit down and go over it.
Okay, not a problem. So here's what, so Don, I'm going to help you with that. But mentally, I'm taking notes. Mentally, I'm hearing what you're saying. And basically, I'm saying to myself, gold package is too expensive. I'm going to need to lower this, but I'm not just going to do that. Okay, that's not where I'm going to take it. But what I am going to do is go back to the agreement. So basically what you were saying before is when we talked about that very simple yes or no, that is not something you're prepared to do at this moment.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what I have. I'm not sure about my financial situation right now. Got a lot of bills to pay. I don't really know what's going on in my bank account. I need to sort it out before I make any decisions.
So I completely understand that. Really quickly, so I'm going to pretend, by the way, Deanna is the one who said that. So
Yeah.
Deanna's very secure with this. So Deanna, I understand how you feel. A lot of people have really felt the same way, but let me ask you a very quick question. Would you agree that people spend money frivolously all the time? For example, you ever go to Dunkin' Donuts to buy coffee?
Yeah, if you ask my husband, I spend money on all kinds of stupid stuff.
Okay, so how?
Ain't
So
that the truth?
when it comes to getting Dunkin' Donuts, how often do you get Dunkin' Donuts?
Every day.
Every day. And how much is a coffee nowadays?
$2.50.
Okay, so we're talking about $5 every 2 days. So we're talking about $60 a month on spending on coffee. Okay. Let me ask you a quick question. Now that we know and understand we spend money frivolously, by the way, I'm going to use cigarettes. I'm going to use coffee. I'm going to use fucking donuts. I'm going to use everything that I possibly can that people just spend all the time. Right. And then I'm going to go right back to where I want to take it. Right. So you guys said you spend money frivolously. We know we do that all the time. Let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever thought about what if Deanna passes away overnight tonight? What would be easier to come up with? I know your financial situation is not something you're bragging about. It's not something you want to talk about right now. But right now, if Deanna passed away overnight, what would be easier to come up with? The $125 a month for the gold package or $15,000 to get her into the ground? Which one's going to be easier to come up with? You tell me.
I mean,
25.
yeah,
I mean, all we got to do is go every other day to Dunkin' Donuts, right? We go every
Yes.
other day to Dunkin' Donuts, we're saving $30, and all of a sudden that $120 a month policy now looks like $90 a month. Is that something that we're more comfortable with?
yes. Can I hit you with another rebuttal? Because I know people are probably thinking this.
By the way, yes, but give me 1 second. Donna, did that make sense where I went there?
Yes,
You gotta
definitely.
give You got to give the real of the real, and you got to believe deep down that if they died overnight, they're fucked. No offense, pardon my language.
That's true.
It's got to come off that way, because I know if that person, if Deanna did die overnight and Jonathan is now stuck with a $15,000 bill, John's going to be fucking angry at his wife for saying, "Can we wait another day?" Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of dollars that could have paid out. Deanna, what was going to be your question? But I do want to dive into the final expense thing. I could do rebuttals, whatever the hell you guys want.
You want me to
Well,
Well,
start
I
with
was
the-
just gonna come back and say, you know what? I really don't care. I'm gonna be dead, so.
Deanna, 1 second. You guys can do this with me every day. You don't have to wait for 11 o'clock on Fridays. If any one of you reached out to me and said to me, "Here's a rebuttal, go," I'll do it. You don't got to wait for this moment. Now, Deanna, what do you got?
So, you know what, Mike, I really don't care, because if I die tonight, I'll be dead. So I guess it's up to them to figure it out.
All right, Jonathan. So now,
Deanna,
I mean,
Give it all a little
by the way,
Colin.
so by the way, when that happens, I'm literally just gonna make eye contact with the spouse and say, how does that make you feel? And then, by the way, I'm gonna let the spouse do the talking for me. That's an easy one.
What if it's a single or a divorced person? So you're sitting with one person.
So like I'm sitting down with like a 22-year-old kid type of deal, you're saying?
No, let's say you're sitting with like a divorced woman in her 40s. She has one kid.
Okay. This
And
actually,
she said, like,
by the way,
I don't care. They'll figure it out.
by the way, it's a very good segue for how I do the final expense protection, but I'm going to use it anyway right now. Okay. Donna, I have a really quick question. When I was talking about final expense protection before, I asked you a very simple question. I need you to remind me of this answer. If you did pass away overnight, who would be in charge of your funeral?
Probably my sister.
Your sister. Now, first, my good question. Does your sister know this?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what you're telling me right now is that if you passed away overnight, you want and feel like your sister should have to pay $15,000 to get you into the ground. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
she can deal with it. She's making plenty of money.
All right, then not a problem. If you wouldn't mind, could you just give her a quick call so I make sure she understands that this is her responsibility and not yours? As long as I know that she knows that she's responsible, at least I know I can lay my head down to rest to know that it's taken care of. But if I don't know your sister is on top of this, then I'm not doing my job the right way. So let's just give her a quick call just to make sure she knows that when Donna dies tonight, she's going to pay $15,000 to get you into the ground.
Guys,
Well,
that's
she's
like
gonna get
pure
access to
fire.
my bank account after I die anyway.
What was that, Donna? Now you're just sounding like you're bullshitting me. What was that?
I said, sorry. Let's say in that scenario, somebody tells you, well, she's gonna be in charge of my kids, so she's gonna have all my money either way. So what does it matter?
Oh, so you would rather $15,000 go out of her pocket to go towards your funeral than use that $15,000 for your kids, is what you're saying. What's more
Okay,
important?
good point.
What's more important? Making sure your kids are taken care of if you did pass away, or making sure your sister has the entire burden of the responsibility of your final arrangements? Because you sound like one of the most irresponsible 22-year-olds I've ever heard.
Okay,
Donna, I'm like at this point, clearly I'm crossing the line, but I'll
Yeah.
be perfectly honest, you're crossing the line too. And I'm not going to be afraid to, like, I'm going to
right.
feel offended that you're being this irresponsible, because clearly everyone knows I'm good. Everyone knows
Yeah.
it's quite obvious.
Sometimes people are dicks.
Guess what? I'm going to show them that I got a bigger dick. What do you want me to say? You could say whatever it is that you really want to say when it comes to that. But I'm going to put the priorities in your face. And when you're saying straight up, my sister's in charge and my sister's doing this and my sister, good, let's talk to her. I've had way too many people die on my watch for me to not to just, okay, I'll take your word for it. Your sister's fucked. That's not the way I run my business.
Okay, so if somebody drops the responsibility on somebody else, you just like, okay, let's call them.
Yeah, let's make sure
Alright.
your sister is aware of this. I
Duly
want to
noted.
my job is to make sure your family is protected. Right now, it sounds like there's a gap in your coverage. And if something were to happen to you, it sounds like your daughter is going to be in rough shape. My job is to make sure this is about after you pass away, Donna, after you're no longer here, making sure your family is still protected.
Right.
Cool? All right, Jonathan, pull it
Thank
back
you for
up. real
answering.
quick.
That helped.
All right. So how did you get here? This is not what I wanted you to get to, buddy. I wanted you to get to the final expense video.
You want me to play the whole video?
No, I wanted you to get to the part where it literally says, the next video you're going to see is final expense. You messed it up. It's already gone. But either way, we'll pretend like that's where we're there. All right. So this is basically right after the mandatory read-off letter, right? I know the first video that's going to come up is going to be final expense protection. Okay. So John, at this point, you might as well just stop sharing. I'd rather see everyone's faces. All right. So right now on the screen, it says the next video, but press play to watch the final expense video. You guys know what I'm talking about when the screen says that. okay? Before I show that video, I'm gonna set myself up here, okay? So John and Deanna, the first benefit you're gonna be entitled to is called your final expense protection. The first question I have for you guys, and this is where we're gonna get a little more serious, okay? Have you guys ever financially been responsible for the final arrangements of a loved one before?
Gosh, I have.
You have, unfortunately. I'm very sorry to hear that, Deanna. If you don't mind me asking, how long ago was it?
Oh, gosh. Jonathan, how long ago? What, did they pass away 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was about 2
Your-
years
your-
ago.
Your parents, both of them, right? We had to pay
Yeah,
for
and
two funerals.
Two funerals. They died at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Very sorry to hear that. I'm sure it wasn't easy to get past. Now, really quickly, do you remember how much it cost to get both of your parents into the ground?
A lot.
28,000.
$28,000. Pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy that cost $28,000 to get two people into the ground. Now, if you don't mind me asking, how'd you guys pay for that?
Refinanced our house.
Man, that is very sad. Now, let me ask you a quick question. If something were to happen to you guys at the same time, who would be in charge of your guys' funeral? Would it be Colin?
And he
No.
can't remember to take the
Con-
dog out, so.
It would probably be one of my brothers. Yeah.
And really quickly, do you want to make sure your brothers have to refinance their house, or do you want to make sure they have to come out of pocket to pay for that $28,000 for your guys' funerals?
No, that was horrible.
Let me show you a quick video that will better explain how our company could create a lump sum to make sure all of that burden goes away. Boom, play the video. They are locked in. If you are sitting here saying, oh no, they're not buying, what are you watching? What are you paying attention? There's nothing they could say. They literally talked about how they had to refinance their house to get both of his parents into the ground. And now I'm saying it's going to be who? Deanna's sister or whatever you said? Deanna's sister is going to have to pay for the funeral. Do you want your sister to refinance because you passed away? Of course not. Let me show you how this works, okay? The video plays, right? I'm not done. I told you, I'm just going to try to give you guys bullets. I'm not saying you guys are going to be able to take what I'm saying and regurgitate it. You're not. Take notes. I'm going to do this once I'm recording it. Watch it over. Take notes. Put bullet points. Right now, we're virtual. Have your cheat sheets all along your computer. Have these written down, okay? So I already have them hook, line, and sinker, right? But I'm going to layer it because now they're watching the video, right? We know in that video, the freedom of choice benefit ends up popping up on there, right? Very similar to what Corey does. I'm now going to take out that freedom of choice benefit. I'm going to hold it up to the screen. I'm going to say, do you remember seeing this on the screen before? Do you remember seeing this? The freedom of choice benefit? There it is.
Yes.
Really quickly, pop quiz. Do you remember how that works? Tell me in your own words, how does that freedom of choice benefit work?
I get, it's like a cashier's check, maybe. That's kind of what I got out of it. It pays our funeral.
I've gotten that before, Deanna. You've done this once or twice. So here's how I do this, right? When I ask that question, whatever their answer is, I'm going to try and help them with it. But I'm going to go right back to, so here's the biggest problem. Funeral homes have a leg up on everybody, okay? And the reason why funeral homes have a leg up on everybody are for some obvious reasons. Let me give you the first one. The first reason, you're grieving. You're not thinking straight. You just lost a loved one, and now you're in a funeral home talking about how much it's going to be just to literally get them into the ground. So already you're in a very vulnerable state, right?
Mhm.
Funeral homes, believe it or not, are a business. When do you think they want their payments?
Right away.
Immediately, right? Just like
Yes.
that sweatshirt that you're wearing right there, Deanna. When you bought that sweatshirt, when did you pay for
Right away.
it? Immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had to pay for it before you could wear it, right?
I sure did.
And it's the same thing with funeral homes. You got to pay for it before you could use it. Did you know that there's a state law in New Jersey? The state law tells us that it can take up to 6 months for a life insurance policy in New Jersey to pay out. Meaning the bigger the policy, the longer it takes to pay out. Right?
No.
Oh, yeah. There's a state law in New Jersey. It could be up to 6 months. By the way, I'm using that, what I just gave you guys, that fact, for people who have big term policies and tell me, oh, I have a lot of coverage already. Oh, yeah, the bigger the policy, the longer it takes to pay out. You still need something for freedom of choice. I'm going to sell them a freedom of choice by using it takes 6 months to pay out. That money won't be there when you need it. Okay. So already, really quickly, a couple quick factoids. First thing I talked about, you're grieving and you're vulnerable. Second quick factoid, they want their money immediately, but the policy won't pay out for 6 months. The third factoid, when it comes to funeral homes, it's not the type of thing that you could shop around for. For example, if you went to go buy a new car in a lot today and you were looking for a black car with black interior and all they had was black with gray interior, you could go to another lot and you could probably get the exact car that you're looking for and you could probably price check. But the difference is that when you go to a funeral home, you don't ask them what the price is and then tell them, okay, the body that you're working on downstairs, could you do me a favor and just throw that body back in my trunk? I'm going to go down the road to a couple other funeral homes and check out their prices. And depending upon what they said, maybe we'll come back. You go to one funeral home and what they tell you to do, you do. The fourth factoid, they are the first people that get to witness what is inside someone's policy. They are the first people that get to see if you have a policy that looks like this, or if you have a policy that looks like this. And let's say you have a nice $200,000 life insurance policy, and they see that you have a $200,000 life insurance policy. How big of a funeral do you think you're going to have?
Oh, I'm gonna have a gold casket,
You're going to have bells. You're going to have
whistles.
You're going to have doves. You see that Michael Jackson?
Diamond crested.
You see that Michael Jackson funeral a couple years ago?
Mhm.
Yours will top that. However, this freedom of choice benefit, John, flash it again. This freedom of choice benefit does not allow a funeral home to do any of those four things that we just talked about. Our policies with our company, this freedom of choice benefit comes at no cost. It allows you, Deanna, to design exactly how much you want to spend on your own funeral before the time of your passing. Right there on that sheet, if you want to have a $10,000 funeral, right now when we're done here, you write $10,000 on that funeral. Your hubby, who would be in charge of your funeral, simply has to find that piece of paper in your house, give it to any funeral home of your choice, and then that funeral home will call our company and we will cut them a check for that exact dollar amount within 24 hours. Anything else that's left over in that policy will get sent directly in the mail to your house. So in other words, with other companies, when funeral homes want their money immediately and the policy's not there, you usually have to refinance to come up with the money. You usually have to sell some products in order to get the money. With our company, there's no financial aspect of the funeral for your family. The entire financial aspect of the funeral is taken care of by our company because you were allowed to design how much you wanted for your own funeral before the time of your passing. How cool does that sound, guys?
Awesome. That means they can't go over that price on that, on there?
Correct.
I
I don't know
like that.
if you're role playing right now or not, but either way,
We are role playing.
guys,
I have that thing sitting right by my desk. I use it all the time.
this is how I sell final expense protection to every human being I speak to. It doesn't matter if I'm at my fantasy football draft and I'm bullshitting with my boys. This is how I speak to them. It doesn't matter if I'm speaking to a complete stranger that I got as a lead 10 minutes ago. This is how I talk about this. I set it up before the video starts by asking them who's in charge. Do they know they're in charge? Do they know how much it costs? Do they have that money? Simple questions. Right then and there, show the video. All you want to do is layer it on afterwards. So funeral homes actually have a really big leg up.
I have a question, Mike.
Shoot, buddy.
What about people who comes on and they automatically like, well, I just came here for the AD&D. I don't want to buy any insurance.
That's not a big deal. Most people that don't want to buy usually say the same exact thing. My job is not to sell you anything, to be honest, Wally. My job is to educate you and go through the entire process to make sure what you may or may not be able to qualify for. Now, you're jumping ahead and talking about what you don't want to buy. Do you even know if you qualify? See what I did there?
Ah, yeah.
I'm going to, by the way, when I said, did you see what I did there? I was still role playing. I will literally say that to a client. I truly believe that humor makes light of a situation. If Wally's going to be a hard ass to me and say, I just want the free shit, man. Don't talk to me about anything I got to pay for. Listen, Wally, I get what you're saying, my guy, but when you filled out that card, do you know what you filled out? Or do you always fill a lot of stuff out that you got no clue what you're talking about? Because when you did fill it out, it says that my job is to go over and explain the free benefits as well as go over your additional benefits. Now, my job is not to sell you anything. My job is to educate you, right? That's my job. My job is to educate you on what you may or may not qualify for. But as of this exact moment, you're telling me you ain't trying to buy anything, but you don't even know if you could qualify for anything, right? You know what I'm saying? See what I did there? Make sense? All my job is to educate you. My first thing I'm going to ask you is, what's your monthly take-home pay? Boom, 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 and go right into it. Does that help, Wally? Good. I'll go over all of this shit with you guys, but you got to understand, I got a lot of gems inside my brain. I need you guys to pull them out of me. This is triggering. The reason where this is coming from is literally Lewis. Me and Lewis had a one-on-one the other day, and we started talking about final expense protection. We started talking about the needs analysis, and I literally wrote down as soon as I was with him, what's the date here? Today's 9/10. 9/8, my notes say, final expense, go over, 3 reasons layup. I literally wrote it down in my notes to make sure on Friday I went over it. Why? Because he triggered it in my brain on Tuesday. Final expense protection is
Which, by the way, was a fire session.
that's my guy. You guys got to understand, I want to help you guys. There's no reason why every single human being you sit down with, you cannot sell. I truly believe that. It's a matter of having a game plan of where you take the conversation. For me, when Jonathan said, oh, I'm going to give the 50 grand to my wife, I salivate. Man, he didn't say final expense protection. Watch how good I can sell this shit.
Man, I'm a
I can
cougar.
sell you guys that the Mets are the best team in the National League. I can sell you guys because I'm passionate about it.
Okay.
I cannot sell you that the Nationals are the best team in the National League because I don't believe it. You got to believe in what you're talking about. You got to believe that final expense protection is huge. You got to believe that the freedom of choice benefit is the best no-cost benefit that we offer. It is. It's the best no-cost benefit we offer. I'll tell you guys a quick personal story, and then I'll stop yelling and screaming at you, okay? Both of my, some of you know this, some of you don't. Let me shut the door really quickly. And to be honest, we're going to stop recording because we don't need to share this.